Well, state officials and local activists held an event on Friday, March 17th to officially announce new legislation that aims to hold gas and oil companies financially accountable for the damage done to the environment. WCN's news director Dan Hogan joins us from the Watertown Arsenal with the details on this legislation and how it would impact oil companies.
On Friday, March 17th, state lawmakers and local activists spoke in Watertown about a new bill that aims to make fossil fuel companies in Massachusetts pay for damage they're causing to the environment.
And I'm angry about it. I'm angry as a member of an environmental justice community. I'm angry as a member of the younger generation who has to deal with and pick up the mess these politicians and companies have left behind and that continue to pile on. I want to see change.
A campaign to garner support for a bill co-sponsored by Watertown State Representative Steve Owens and State Senator Jamie Eldridge, holding fossil fuel companies financially accountable for the damage caused to the environment, was officially kicked off in Watertown on March 17th.
The principle of polluters pay is very simple, right? Those who make the mess should be the ones to clean it up.
An act establishing a climate change superfund and promoting polluter responsibility, also known as the Polluters Pay Act, would impose a fee on the largest greenhouse gas emitters in Massachusetts to create a climate resiliency superfund. Superfund sites are polluted locations that require long-term responses to clean up. The recent news conference was held at the Commander's Mansion at the Watertown Arsenal, which became a Superfund site in the 90s after it was determined that the nuclear and atomic research done by the U.S. Army in the 1960s contaminated the arsenal.
The EPA added the arsenal to the national priorities list, designating it as a Superfund in, I think, 1994. And cleanup activities removed contamination and demolished a nuclear reactor.
The Watertown Arsenal Superfund site was delisted in 2006. The polluter paid for cleanup of the contamination it had left behind.
Organizers of the Polluters Pay Act say it would generate about $10 billion over the next 10 years to be used for climate adaptation projects.
This will include massive investment in building seawalls and conducting coastal protections to hold off rising oceans, performing ecological restoration projects to save damaged habitats, making defensive upgrades to roads, bridges, subways, and transit systems, and increasing the resilience of the electric grid and the weatherization of energy efficiency of buildings.
40% of the money generated from the Superfund would also go directly to environmental justice communities.
These companies don't just exploit the land, they exploit the people. And they try to silence and stop on Black and Indigenous voices and lives. And they're the reason as to why the respiratory issues in America is at an all-time high.
Representative Steve Owens says that funds generated by the bill would likely be used to move several environmental projects forward in Watertown, such as removing the Watertown Dam and managing stormwater runoff. And although they were not physically here during that press event, Massachusetts Senators Ed Markey and Elizabeth Warren, as well as Catherine Clark, are all in support of the Polluters Pay Bill and did send representatives from each of their offices to speak on their behalf. Reporting here from the Watertown Arsenal, Dan Hogan, Watertown Cable News.
Organizers of the bill say that the legislation would generate over $75 billion over the next 25 years to fund climate adaptation projects.
Daniel, thank you for that report. You can watch the entire news conference from March 17th on WCN's YouTube channel.